like several other people I know.
The days are getting shorter, and you can feel it in the air. Yes, it's that time of year. Pumpkin is finally back at Dunkin'. It's the cozy you've been craving all summer long, now in your cup at Dunkin'. Pick up all of your pumpkin favorites, like the signature pumpkin spice iced latte, or a pumpkin iced coffee, and bakery items like pumpkin donuts and muffins. Sip into something comfortable to celebrate the start of cozy season. Use the Dunkin' app for contactless ordering. America runs on Dunkin'.
O'Reilly.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Well, you've heard of people getting shot up with cancer before?
Well, you think John Gotti was ever sick a day in his life? All of a sudden he dies of cancer? Two friends of mine from Massachusetts, same thing.
Being from California, right?
I'm not from California.
Well, you're in California right now, right?
I live here, yeah.
Yeah, living in California. And you've lived there for how long?
On and off since the 60s.
Okay.
I lived in Europe for 20 years. I lived all over the place.
What, have you run across Anthony Pellicano?
Yeah, I knew who Anthony was.
Okay. What can you tell us about Anthony Pellicano?
He ran a little agency like your detective agency there, you know?
Well, not like mine, but like I don't have any C4.
He ran a detective agency in Beverly Hills,
right?
And he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah.
He stepped out of bounds, man. No, he did things he was not supposed to do. Again, over greed. Everything's about greed, man. I saw him in his office about 2 weeks before all that shebang opened up. Anthony.
No, he must have had some kind of CIA connections or something like that, right? Are you familiar with that?
But they all had. You got to understand something. When the CIA was formed in the 40s, yeah?
Okay.
And you got to understand how many versions of the CIA there are. There's like 58 different chapters of the CIA. And they're not funded by the government. They weren't for years. Okay? Private funding. And Anthony, most people, like I said, in the 40s when they were started, there were certain things that the CIA could not do. There was no white people allowed in China other than Sam Giancana, who was friendly with Shanghai Shek. And he was one of the only white guys that they allowed over there. So the CIA went into China and took care of business and things that Murder Incorporated sent guys over there that they couldn't do, the CIA couldn't get into. You know what I mean?
Same thing with Cuba, too, right? Well, what do you know about the
whole Cuban thing? Here's Joe Kennedy tells his son, all those soldiers going into the Bay of Pigs do not need any ammunition in their weapon, because if one of them shoots a shot off, it's going to create chaos. So what happens? They all go into that water with weapons with no ammunition, and they all get slaughtered. There were 11 guys that came out of that thing that joined Johnson. He became Johnson's private little army. I had a good friend of mine from Tallahassee who was involved in that. One of the survivors. So you can't, like I said, the media takes everything out of context. People's stories take everything out of context. Everybody wants to cover up this, cover up that, cover up. But there's a truth that always surfaces years later.
And why do you think it is that the media covers up so much?
Because their own.
By the government?
Do you think that the media, when you sit there and you're watching the news every day at 6 o'clock, you think you're hearing the truth? You got to be kidding me. The news on television is there to make awards. They're trying to win awards. They don't care what they tell you. They tell you what they want to tell you. They don't tell you what's actually going on in the world.
And in control by who? The government or?
You know, you ever hear that story that money talks and BS walks?
Right. Okay.
So how much control do you think George Soros has over the media? He owns Fox News. He owns a lot of things.
Soros owns Fox News?
In the back door.
Well, okay. Well, Trump and Jared Kushner, they both did business with Soros.
A lot of people did business with Soros because they know everybody gets blindsided in a lot of places. Everybody, it's hard to believe that certain things can be a reality right in front of your face. You know, our country, okay, let me say something. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What was the very first prohibition in America?
Ooh, marijuana?
No.
What was it?
No. In 1914, they had a thing called the Harrison Act. The Harrison Act, before the Harrison Act, you could walk into a pharmacy, you could buy opium across the counter.
Yeah, I was going to guess
you could buy marijuana across the counter.
Yeah.
And there was no addictions anywhere, you understand? Now the Harrison Act comes into play, which gave Big Pharma all their control. All of a sudden, the pharmaceutical business is all controlled by money. Okay? Now you take a look at our society and you say, okay, in the 1900s, early 1900s, all the way up past 1914, in that whole era, housewives were housewives. They stayed home. They had 6, 7, 8 children. If they were married to an abusive drunk or something, there was no such thing as divorce. People stayed married. So doctors, after 14, doctors handed out prescriptions like candy. They gave women speed to wake up in the morning and Valium to go to bed at night. Now, all those drugs are going through their blood system, which means that at children being born, that blood's going through that child. And children are being born with addictions. No one ever talks about that. In 1972, they made a documentary called The Little Junkie at a major hospital in New York. And it was kids that were being born screaming, crying, uncontrollable. Doctors couldn't believe what was going on with these kids until one bright doctor turned around and said, these kids are going through withdrawal. Their mothers are junkies. It was shown once on television. No one ever saw it again.
I remember that. Now, you mentioned earlier Adnan Khashoggi.
You're an investigator. You should know all these things.
No, I remember that show. I know, but listen, I can tell you, we do shows on this stuff all the time. Okay, as a matter of fact, you may not be aware of this, but you know that the Operation Paperclip, right? They brought in the Nazis to work on a space program. The Nazis they brought in too are the ones who started the Food and Drug Administration here in this country. Okay, that's a whole.
Why don't they have a discussion about 9/11? About the school in Florida that taught when guys walked into the air schools and with a case full of money and said, I want to learn the airspace. I don't want to learn how to take off or land. I just want to know the navigation of the airspace. And no one said a word about it?
Oh, no, yeah. Daniel Hopsick, I've had him on the show many times.
Please, give me a break.
Check out his work on that. Hey, but what can you tell us about Adnan Khashoggi? You mentioned him before. What do you know about his dealings and dabblings here in the United States?
Lived on a boat all his life because he never sat down on the ground.
You're invited to a huge grand opening celebration of Once Upon a Child in Sarasota this Thursday, September 24th through Sunday, September 27th. On Thursday and Friday, the first 25 customers get a free tote and a $10 gift card just for stopping by. Saturday, enjoy our live entertainment from 2 to 5, and Sunday, get double reward points all day long. Once Upon a Child Sarasota's grand opening is this Thursday through Sunday. Visit onceuponachildsarasota.com for more information and check us out on Facebook. You're invited to a huge grand opening celebration of Once Upon a Child in Sarasota this Thursday, September 24th through Sunday, September 27th. On Thursday and Friday, the first 25 customers get a free tote and a $10 gift card just for stopping by. Saturday, enjoy our live entertainment from 2 to 5, and Sunday, get double reward points all day long. Once Upon a Child Sarasota's grand opening is this Thursday through Sunday. Visit onceuponachildsarasota.com for more information and check us out on Facebook.
No one could ever lock him up. He lived in international waters. He did more weapon deals than any man walking the face of the earth.
And drug deals?
Did them all.
Okay.
But so you see, things went into certain monies, and you're talking about drugs. Listen, in 1957, 56, if you go on your computer and you go back in the banking history of the banks, the four major banks of New York, and look at what they were doing loan-wise internationally, you will find that they were lending huge sums of money to South America for so-called agricultural loans. Yeah? 1960, America's gone through certain changes. They go off of the gold standard on the bank notes. They go off. They had the Hoffa problem. Kennedy was running for president, first Irish Catholic president. There were four different issues. The unions were up and rise in Northeast. With all kinds of problems going on in the country, right? So when the bank is changing over from one system to the other, some bright sparks in the bank said, hey, guys, there's a whole bunch of debt on our books that nobody's talking about. We're not seeing any money return. What are we doing about this? And some bright spark by the name of George Bush, who was a CIA guy, said, don't worry about that. Everything will even out. There's something we can get our money back from in South America, thing called cocaine. And Noriega and some people went into the drug business, the government. By 1963, all those banks were overflowing with money, and nobody asked where it came from. So you had one bank in New York said, geez, you know what? I think we got a problem here. We seem to have a lot of money. So they gave up a matchbook and kept the box. You understand?
No.
And this country went in the cocaine business.
Right.
And Noriega was a big part of that. And Noriega went to school at Yale with a guy called George Bush. Nobody talks about that, though, do they?
And whatever happened to Noriega? Is he still alive?
He's in jail, living like a king.
Yeah, I think he was in the same prison there as Gotti for a while.
In his jail, living like a king.
Yeah.
Got a television. He's got he's got his own safe in his jail cell. Everything.
Jack, we're coming toward the end of the show. First of all, is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to tell us about?
People should buy my book. They'll like it.
Yeah, family legacy. You
got three more books coming. It's going to be good. We're telling the truth about some things in this country which need to be told.
FamilyLegacyTheNovel.com. So, and what the next books? What are they going to be about?
It'll be the sequels to Family Legacy, going before and after. You got to go back all the way back to 1850 when they first came in the country. First place they came in was down in New Orleans because it was the biggest shipping port. And they set up in the country. If you look at how the Italians set up when they came in the country, it was like the Roman legions. They set up at all the shipping port states in the East Coast, all the way up to Detroit on the Canadian border. And then they set up in Chicago, which was the turnstile for trafficking in America. Like Roman legions. That's why they have soldiers and capos and lieutenants and,
Where does the book Family Legacy leave off? Like what year?
It starts with my father's death and ends with Kennedy's death.
Kennedy's death. Okay.
And I tell the truth about the Kennedy assassination.
So then you have a lot to cover. Do you talk about
that? The next book will go from Kennedy's death to Nixon's impeachment. And then we'll go from there to modern day. And then we're going to do a book infiltrating how Europe and America are all interfaced and banking systems. And
now, in your
research, you told me when I was a kid, he said, always follow the money, kid.
Now, to your knowledge, do you have any information about people involved in the Kennedy assassination being involved in Watergate?
Being involved in what?
Watergate.
Two different scenarios.
Okay.
Two different scenarios. We're talking about two different political stances altogether. Watergate was, if you got to look at Richard Nixon's history, where he came from. Understand that he was one of the first people in China. He and